Hello. There's a lot of noise still going on as a result of this political election. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people are happy. Or I should say more people are happier. And for those who commented on my previous vlog, there were some people who were sort of negative and saying, gee, do you want this to happen? Do you want that to happen? Your social security is going to be impacted, and so forth and so on. A lot of negativism, which I can understand. Obviously, there's going to be a winner and a loser. And the one that wins are happy. The one that loses are not happy. Now, one thing I observed though is, although there are a lot of positive comments coming primarily from the winners, there are some negatives. They're saying, gee, you're listening to too much to Fox News. Why don't you listen to CNN, MSNBC? Well, maybe they should do some soul searching. Maybe they're listening too much to CNN and MSNBC and some other channels that are so biased. And that is the reason I know. It's because I listen to all of them and see which one are laughable, because the obvious statements being made, being a Nazi, being this, being that, and get who's doing it. They are the ones doing it. And you have to balance things out. And sometimes it's better to listen to people who are not the regular channels. I stopped listening to CNN and MSNBC. True, I was listening to Fox, but even Fox at some point changed direction. I can see that. Listen to vloggers, but be careful because there are some vloggers who spread bad news, okay? And try to balance things out and see which one you will believe and see which ones you will not. I am not an articulate speaker for me to explain to you some of the issues, but here is this one guy that I'd like you to watch and listen, because he is able to articulate well the issues that are involved. So let's take a look and watch. This is going to be about a 20-minute vlog, but this will hopefully open your eyes to the reality of what is going on, or what has been going on, and what could potentially be going on moving forward. Before I continue on to show you this vlog that I really enjoyed watching, and I thought maybe I should share it with you, I will appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, and please click like, because that will help the rating on my vlog. Thank you so much. Let's move on.
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. And this is Liberty. I want to thank you, the American people, the people in this audience, for standing up and saving your country on Tuesday. You saved the Supreme Court. You saved the Electoral College. You saved us from another 20 million illegal aliens and chain migration, another 150 million people coming into this country. You've saved our economy. You've saved our cops, our police force. You've saved our military. You've saved the American Constitution and Declaration of Independence. People seem to forget what was on the line here. Everything was on the line here. We dodged a bullet. President Trump literally dodged a bullet, and we dodged a bullet on Tuesday. The extent of Donald Trump's historic nature, iconic nature, really isn't understood because we're too close to it. They'll understand it 50 or 100 years from now. He's not a typical politician. He speaks like a regular person, which is why they hate him. He tells you his feelings. He's utterly and completely transparent, in many ways to a fault. But that's who he is. And we, the American people, it turns out we love this man. We want him back in the Oval Office. We want him to lead the country. We have rejected completely, utterly, undeniably, the Democrat Party, the Marxist, jihadist agenda. We have rejected it. We want nothing to do with it. We love this country. They do not. We do not want the fundamental transformation of America. We want America back. And you did this. All the talking on the world, all the TV in the world, all the radio in the world couldn't have changed this but for you. And you came out en masse from all corners of the country, every single background, every single race, ethnicity, and religion. Whether President Trump won them outright or won a significant number, it didn't matter. He had a landslide, a modern-day landslide, over 300 electoral college votes. He won the popular election. We beat the media, we beat academia, we beat Hollywood and entertainment, we beat the DC special interest groups, we beat the corporatist oligarchs. The oligarchs put up $1.2 billion to defeat him. They lost. But I want to make something abundantly clear. There is no kumbaya. This isn't hands across America. Have you seen the media? Have you seen the Democrats? They haven't changed. Their stripes haven't changed. They're the same evil empire they've always been. And after a couple more days and a couple more weeks, they will make public what they're doing right now. Do you know what they're doing right now? In the shadows, they are plotting to try and figure out how to destroy the Trump presidency. This White House today, speaking out of both sides of its mouth, they have a whole bunch of executive orders ready to go to try and stymie the Trump agenda, the American people agenda. He's got a real mandate. And his mandate is, we want normalcy back. We want our lives back. We want our freedoms back. We want our religion back, our family back, our sovereignty back. We want America back. We're not interested in what Obama, Hillary Clinton, Biden, Harris, the whole long list of reprobates. We don't want what they want to do to this country top down. And you made the difference. You changed everything. But until Comcast gets control of NBC and MSNBC, until Paramount gets control of CBS, until Disney gets control of ABC and Warner Brothers gets control of CNN, these pockets of Pravda, Al Jazeera-like media, not a free press, not an American press, these propagandists, these demagogues, until they are held to account for the things that they said, Hitler, fascism, all the things they said about you, the American people, until these corporations get control over these news platforms and really turn them into professional operations with real professional journalists, nothing's going to change. So I just want you to be aware of this. And we, the American people, and this incoming new administration, this pro-American administration, will need to use every constitutional, legal, political, and every other ability that we have and they have to push their agenda and defend it against what is definitely coming. Because these people don't roll over. They don't go into fetal position. They get angrier. They want more power. They grab more money. And they never say no. I just want you to be aware of this. I want to tell you the truth. Now, I want to get into a few other things here. This lawfare stuff. I'm not going to let it pass. I have in front of me one paragraph that was filed by the unconstitutional rogue prosecutor, Jack Smith, on behalf of the Department of Injustice and the entire regime that's still in place. The United States versus Donald Trump, government's unopposed motion to vacate briefing schedule. He didn't move to vacate the cases. The briefing schedule. So all the reporting is wrong. As a result of the election held on November 5, the defendant is expected to be certified as president-elect on January 6, 2025, and inaugurated on January 20, 2025. They are sharp. You got to give them that. The government respectfully requests that the court, now this court is this judge, Tanya Chutkan, who is horrific, an Obama appointee, a left-wing bomb thrower in a black robe. They say they're asking the court to vacate the remaining deadlines. That's the schedule. In the pretrial schedule to afford the government time to assess this unprecedented circumstance and determine the appropriate course going forward consistent with Department of Justice policy by December 2nd. So the sword of Damocles remains over President-elect Trump's head. December 2nd, they give themselves. The government will file a status report or otherwise inform the court of the result of its deliberations. The government has consulted with defense counsel who do not object to this request. They haven't made any decision yet, because they're corrupt as hell. This memo that I brought to you years ago, October 16, 2000, which incorporates a memo by the Department of Justice as well, in 1973, so for half a century, it has been the position of the United States government, the Department of Justice, that you cannot indict a sitting president. I'll get to the point. The indictment or criminal prosecution of a sitting president would unconstitutionally undermine the capacity of the executive branch to perform its constitutionally assigned functions. And it goes on. Because of the unique duties and demands of the presidency, the department concluded a president cannot be called upon to answer the demands of another branch of the government in the same manner as can other individuals. The ordinary workings of the criminal process would impose burdens upon a sitting president that would directly and substantially impede the executive branch from performing its constitutionally assigned functions. And the accusation or adjudication of the criminal culpability of the nation's chief executive by either a grand jury returning an indictment or a petit jury returning a verdict would have a dramatically destabilizing effect on the ability of a coordinated branch of government to function. And it goes on in exquisite detail. 3 types of burdens merit consideration. A, the actual imposition of a criminal sentence of incarceration. So it's not just indictment, it's the entire trial process, which would make it physically impossible for the president to carry out his duties. B, the public stigma, an opprobrium occasioned by the initiation of criminal proceedings, which could compromise the president's ability to fulfill his constitutionally contemplated leadership role with respect to foreign and domestic affairs. And C, the mental and physical burdens of assisting in the preparation of a defense for the various stages of the criminal proceedings, which might severely hamper the president's performance of his official duties. He's going to be distracted. He's fighting for his liberty while he's president of the United States. And I have tagged page after page over the years this document. Half a century, you cannot indict a sitting president. But Mark, Donald Trump is not a sitting president. And when they indicted him, he wasn't a sitting president. They rushed. They interfered with the election. They sought to prevent him from becoming a president again, which violates every notion of ethics when it comes to practicing law, but it actually violates, as I explained before, the rules of the Justice Department. For instance, federal prosecutors and agents may never select the timing of any action, including investigative steps, criminal charges, or statements, for the purpose of affecting any election or for the purpose of giving an advantage or disadvantage to any candidate or political party. Such a purpose is inconsistent with the department's mission and with the principles of federal prosecution, and it goes on. That's their position, official position. That's their rule. Did it happen? You better believe they did it. More in a second. And I've pointed out to you, Office of Attorney General, every single Attorney General since Mukasey, under George W. Bush, right up to Garland, believe it or not, Biden, have put out this memorandum that has said election year sensitivities. And they basically say, look, you're not to bring cases that you think or can possibly affect an election, let alone a presidential election. And that's the official position of the department. So they've had basically a 60-day rule, but it's even broader than that. And here they are, all the memoranda right here. That's what it says. So what happened here with Donald Trump? And I don't care if they're filing documents with the federal court right now or not. The Trump new Justice Department needs to get to the bottom of this. We can never allow a rogue Department of Justice at the direction of a president or vice president or anybody else in a regime to unleash the full power of the Department of Justice, the Criminal Division, the Public Integrity Division, a so-called special counsel, to interfere with a presidential election for the purpose of defeating a specific candidate, to go to court after court in this country to try and get the processes of due process, cutting corners to get it done as quickly as possible before the election, to try and defeat the person and put them in prison. We cannot allow that to ever happen again. I'm not talking about recriminations. I'm talking about setting this straight. We need to find out exactly who did what exactly they did, look at the documentary evidence of what they did, make it available to the American people, and say, we will never, ever allow this to happen again to any candidate of any party. Now, let's continue with this. The federal case is dead. It's over. They shouldn't have to wait till December 2nd. They shouldn't have to wait another second, period. It's over. Even if it has to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Now you say, but Mark, again, he wasn't president of the United States. I know exactly what Donald Trump was. He was a candidate for president, and they tried to cripple him in advance of the election. And you know what? You said, no, we're not buying what this guy Smith did or this Judge Chutkan did. We're not buying what Garland did and the other reprobates at the Department of Justice. This is the United States of America. You don't treat anybody this way, let alone a candidate for president. And the American people put a stop to this. Not a judge, not the justice system, quote unquote, not any whistleblower at the Department of Justice who said, we don't do this sort of thing. You, the people, we, the people, put an end to it. Now, they still have their little entrails going on here, but that's the truth. Now, Mark, what about this case in Manhattan, this New York case? No, this case in Georgia. What do we do about that? We have what's called a Constitution of the United States. Now, I know you folks on the left hate it. I know you like to go around and decide which parts you'll comply with. You don't even like most of the Bill of Rights, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 15th, 14th Amendments. If you had your way, you'd rewrite it, which is why you were defeated. We don't want your way. We don't like tyranny. The Supremacy Clause. What is the Supremacy Clause? Let me read it to you. And Acting State Judge Marchand, let me read it to you, because you need to be educated. You are a constitutional illiterate. This Constitution, this is the quote, and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States. Ready, Judge Marchand? Pay attention. Shall be the supreme law of the land, federal law and the Constitution. And the judges in every state, including you, Marchand, shall be bound thereby, and anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. That's the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. Very, very important. So much so it shows up in the Federalist Papers. Look at this. Federalist number 33, written by Alexander Hamilton. Oh, you lefties like him. Remember the play Hamilton? Oh, yeah. He's your guy. A law, by the very meaning of the term, includes supremacy. It is a rule which those to whom it is prescribed are bound to observe. This results from every political association. If individuals enter into a state of society, the laws of that society must be the supreme regulator of their conduct. If a number of political societies, states, localities, enter into a larger political society, the laws which the latter may enact, the state and localities, pursuant to the powers entrusted by it, by its constitution, must necessarily be supreme. If states join into a nation, then the national laws have to be supreme. Otherwise, what do you have? Well, James Madison tells us what we have. It would have been seen the authority of the whole society everywhere subordinate to the authority of the parts. The parts would have control of the whole. You'd have anarchy. You wouldn't have a country. It's called the Supremacy Clause. Now, what the hell does that have to do with Mr. Marchand? That Stalinist trial that was held in Manhattan, where they violated the 5th and 14th Amendments, among other things, due process and equal protection. And they violated their own rules of conduct, where they tried to breathe life into a new law and turn a misdemeanor into a felony by basing it all on federal law, federal election law, without saying it was based on federal election law. You see all this? And now Marchand's going to sit there at a sentencing hearing with a president-elect. They rushed that case ahead. They wanted to get it done. Convicted felon, 34 counts. Let's defeat him. Let's put him in jail. It's backfired. Because you, the people, said, enough of this. That's not the way our country works. That's not the way our justice system works. And we don't want it to work against us this way. You put an end to it. So what does it mean? Marchand has no jurisdiction. He has no authority. The Supremacy Clause. He has no authority because the whole case is based on the unstated federal election laws. It's a dead case. He's got no authority because of that memo in 2000 written by the Department of Justice. The same reason the feds can't conduct themselves that way is the same reason that a state can't conduct itself that way. In other words, understand what I'm saying. The office of the presidency, federal law, the election law, the federal constitution, the functioning of the executive branch cannot be in any way hampered, interfered with, degraded by a state judge or a state prosecutor because of the Supremacy Clause, because of a lack of jurisdiction, because it involves federal law, and 1,000 other reasons. That case is dead. But Mershon is just too stupid to know it. So he's going to have to be educated about it, isn't he? One other thing. What about those 34 felony convictions under this Stalinist court and this phony judge with a phony prosecutor? Can something be done about that? Yes, it can. And this is where the professors and the former federal prosecutors, most of them, don't have the foggiest idea what they're talking about. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of your Constitution. It talks about the power of a president. The president shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. So a lot of our friends, they say, well, this is a state case. It's not a federal case. There's no jurisdiction. It says pardons for offenses against the United States government. What did I just say about the case in Manhattan, in New York? The underlying crime was a federal offense, the federal election law. So there you have a nexus right there. What else did I say? This involves the office of the presidency, that a state and locality can't interfere with it. There's another nexus. What else did I say? We're talking about a future president of the United States. The state says we're going to lock him up. No, I don't think so. So you would destroy the entire federal constitutional construct because some jerk state acting judge and some jerk prosecutor decides we're going to take him on. And imagine what would happen. We have 15,000 DAs and 10 times that amount or 100 times that amount of assistant DAs. That's not how it works. So in the end, let's say at the end of his presidency, if Donald Trump wanted to, he can pardon himself of the 34 counts. Why? Because the power is plenary. It's a very expansive power. Pardons for offenses against the United States. Pardons. And keep something else in mind. There's nothing in the Constitution that prevents him from doing it. Nothing. I just thought I'd point that out. And you, the American people, you brought an end to, they call it lawfare. You know, that sounds too nice. These Stalinist witch trials. You said no. Whether it's New York, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Washington or anywhere else. We, the people, we want nothing to do with that.
There you have it, guys. All I can say is we need to accept reality and we need to be thankful that Trump is back. And because I really was scared about the direction this country is headed. This is no longer the America that I came here for. Can you imagine? You cannot even control what you teach your kids. You cannot even control or you cannot even require that any decision made by the kids be relayed to you. Parents are not supposed to be involved in their sexual choices. And by the way, they are even being given sexual choices. Are you a girl or a boy? Guys, there are two things on earth, a boy and a girl. Anything other than that is a choice. Now they say freedom of choice. They say when it comes to abortion, my body, my choice. But what did I do during COVID? Did you have a choice not to wear a mask? Did you have a choice not to go to various places? No. There's always no 100% freedom. Sometimes it makes sense to do it, sometimes it doesn't. But look at what they did. Then they talk, my body, my choice. Well, it's their choice. Let them pay for it. Why will its taxpayer pay for it? Why will my tax money pay for those abortion? There are some warranted abortion, and many are not. And when you legalize abortion, it gets abused. So now people who cannot control their genitals want abortion. Excuse me for the expression. I just heard that from someone. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I'll appreciate it if you share this with other people. And God bless. Make it a great day.